From the devastation of war, sometimes beautiful and powerful films are inspired. Welcome to WordToTheWes, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 British war movies. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we took a look at some of the best and most significant war movies made or produced in Britain. Number 10. Dunkirk. Christopher Nolan's stylish retelling of the heroic yet devastating Dunkirk evacuation features a star-studded cast including Harry Styles, Tom Hardy, Cillian Murphy and Kenneth Branagh. It also features some impressive technical achievements, including the use of planes and boats from the era.
And keep an eye on that gauge, even when it gets lively. Save enough to get back.
Dunkirk, a pivotal moment in the history of the Second World War, which saw the whole of Britain come together against the terrible threat of Nazi fascism, is shown here from three different perspectives. After all, straightforward storytelling never was Nolan's style, and the film becomes so much more engaging for it.
Dad, come on, there was no shooting. He's probably dead.
David, I hear you, Peter, I hear you.
Number 9. A Bridge Too Far.
I shouldn't worry about them.
In war, not every lofty plan or act of heroism goes exactly to the letter. A Bridge Too Far boasts some of the biggest names of its time, including Sean Connery, Michael Caine and Dirk Bogarde, to name but a few. Directed by Richard Attenborough, it follows the story of a failed Operation Market Garden, which took place during World War II. The attempt to capture a number of bridges in the occupied Netherlands and break enemy lines in order to bring the war to an end may have ultimately been a tragic failure, but it certainly makes for great storytelling.
Down! Take cover! Cover fire!
Number 8. The Dam Busters.
Sized dummy prototypes of my bomb.
A new weapon like this would need highly skilled labour.
An absolute classic of British war cinema, The Dam Busters was based on the true events of 1943's Operation Chastise, when the RAF's 617 Squadron bombed a number of German dams. The film's popularity, enormous at the time it was released, has never waned. So much so that Peter Jackson has been in talks to produce a remake for years. But remaking this might be a waste of everybody's time. It's hard to redo a classic, and after all, it's the movie that inspired one of the most famous scenes in Star Wars.
There it is, boys. Bit aggressive, aren't they?
Number 7. Where Eagles Dare.
We get company.
This World War II action classic features Richard Burton and Clint Eastwood in two of their most well-remembered performances. It was a major success on release, and its high production values, perfectly paced script and brilliant characters still hold up beautifully today. Not to mention it has been inspiration for pretty much every war epic that's come afterwards, from Hollywood to Tarantino and beyond. With its realistic approach to violence and real sense of storytelling, Where Eagles Dare is easily one of the greatest war movies ever made. Number 6. Ice Cold in Alex.
There's something under my foot.
Another classic World War II movie, but this time in a very different location, Egypt, during the Western Desert Campaign. After a raid by the German Afrika Korps, a British medical field unit finds itself separated from the bulk of the army, and is forced to fend for itself and make its way to Alexandria under the guide of Captain Anson, an alcoholic beset by PTSD. Anson's drive to overcome his personal battles results in a vow not to drink another drop until he can have an ice-cold lager in Alex, giving way to the film's title.
The next drink I have is going to be a lager. Ice cold.
Number 5. Went the Day Well.
Look funny, don't they? German names in an English churchyard. They wanted England, these Jerrys did. And this is the only bit they got.
The tale of an English village overrun by German paratroopers, this film is still considered one of the greatest classics of wartime cinema, British or otherwise. Adapted from a story by the great Graham Greene, this gem of home front propaganda deals with what was at the time one of the greatest fears of the British population, that of a German invasion. Avoiding a scaremongering approach in favour of a positive, unifying message, Went the Day Well stands the test of time almost 80 years since its release.
I've run out of ammunition.
Number 4. Lawrence of Arabia.
He's of no use here in Cairo. It might be in Arabia.
Based on the life story of the famous T.E. Lawrence, David Lean's epic historical war film is still considered one of the director's and cinema's greatest achievements. It won an impressive 7 Oscars as well as a Golden Globe and a couple of BAFTAs. and today remains one of the most important and influential British films ever made. Much of the film focuses on Lawrence's involvement in the Arab revolt against the Ottoman Turks, which gave him his moniker and, ultimately, everlasting fame.
No prisoners.
Number 3. The Bridge on the River Kwai. A fantastic cast, with Sir Alec Guinness at its forefront, brings to life the story of a ragtag bunch of British prisoners of war in Burma, forced by their Japanese captors to work on the construction of a railway bridge.
He's done it.
The film was released to universal acclaim and, like Lawrence of Arabia, still today holds a place in cinematic history as a defining moment of British and international cinema. From its depiction of the stiff upper lip to its complex character portrayals, this is a grandiose movie that never settles for easy answers.
What have I done?
Number 2. Zulu.
Bayonets! Attention!
Starring Michael Caine in the role he built his career on, Zulu depicts the events of the Battle of Rorke's Drift in 1879, which took place during the Anglo-Zulu War. This epic war film, which of course can be evaluated very differently through a modern social and historical lens, shows how a British force of only 150 men managed to ward off over 4,000 Zulu warriors.
You move your leg.
If you want me to dance.
I want you to crawl.
God, you slovenly soldier. We got work to do.
One of Britain's most successful films at the time, its depiction of a pivotal moment in history of the Empire still makes it, despite controversy, one of the country's most beloved war classics.
They're saluting you. They're saluting fellow braves.
Number 1. The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp.
You're an extremely impudent young officer. But let me tell you that in 40 years' time, you'll be an old gentleman too. And if your belly keeps pace with your head, you'll have a bigger one than any of us.
Powell and Pressburger's World War II masterpiece is not your typical war movie. But Colonel Blimp deals with war, its meaning and its impact on people in a way few films had done before and few since. The innovative flashback structure of its narration, the attention given to its characters, the glorious cinematography all contribute to make this one of the finest achievements in the history of film. Its honest, humane depiction of a German officer caused the government at the time to disapprove of the film, but history has proved its genius.
Now the women are fighting beside the men. The children are being trained to shoot. What's left is the home. But what is the home without women and children?
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WMUK and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.